Hi, once again, everyone, and welcome to our UD football show with head football coach Stan Zweifel. Coach Zweifel is still down on the practice field. He'll be joining us very soon, though, as the Spartans are preparing for their next battle in Iowa Conference play, which we'll be previewing here on the UD football show with Stan Zweifel. The Co-College Co-Hawks will be the opponent. A big test for the Spartans. Co coming in with a record perfect on the season. They are 5-0 and 2-0 in Iowa Conference play. The Spartans as well, 2-0 on the season after their homecoming victory last Saturday, as they were easy winners over the Luther College Norse. Took the ball game under control from start to finish, winning 56-20. Last Saturday. It was a very impressive performance by the offense and the defense. The offense did a great job right from the start, scored on almost every drive they had the football. They punted just one time here in the football game against the Norse, so a very impressive offensive performance. The Spartans had 449 yards of a total offense, 267, make that 276 through the air, and 173 against the run. And so pretty balanced attack. And once again, Kyle Aker, the Spartan running back, going for over 100 yards. And Brian Bradshaw really was on his throw game, as he accounted for all those passing yards, except for when he was spelled by Zach Fry, who came in, got some extra time. It was good to see the number 2s and number 3s get a chance to perform in this football game. The Spartans haven't been able to have a wide-open game like that for a while, and so I'm sure Coach Zweifel very pleased that he could work on his depth a little bit, and they got a great chance to do that against Luther, handing them their first loss in Iowa Conference play. And so next up, the challenge gets much tougher, as they'll be taking on the Co-College Co-Hawks as they'll travel to Cedar Rapids for that contest. It's been a battle the last two times. The Spartans and the Co-Hawks have matched up last year. The Spartans nearly got the Co-Hawks, who ended up as the Iowa Conference champions and suffered only one loss in conference play. The year before that, the Spartans went down to Cedar Rapids and celebrated an Iowa Conference championship, the first in a long, long time, down on the Cedar Rapids field of Co-College. So it was a huge win at that time. So some great memories and a tough loss last year. So it's turned into a rivalry, and the Spartans and the Co-Hawks should have a great matchup on Saturday. It'll be a 1 o'clock kickoff, and you'll be able to hear the game broadcasted on 101.1 The River, and we'll have audio streaming available on dbq.edu. Just look for that Stretch internet link and click on the live broadcast icon that they've got posted there on the sports page, and you'll be able to listen into the broadcast if you can't pick up the River's signal. If you live outside the tri-state area and you want to listen in to the broadcast, that would be the way to do it. Coach Zweifel going to be coming in here, and he's going to join us in just a moment as we're going to set up the matchup with the Co-College Co-Hawks, talk a little bit about the last week's win over the Luther Norse. We will return. We'll have Coach Zweifel join us in just a moment. You're listening to the UD Football Show with Stan Zweifel on 101.1 The River. We're back on the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zweifel, who made his way up from the practice field to join us here on this, for the first time, a little bit chilly Tuesday night, Coach. And this is real football weather, though, isn't it?
Oh, my gosh, is it ever. I'm fired up as heck now. It is great football weather, a little bit of wind, and we're going to get some of that kind of weather now here the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. But fun practice night, probably one of our most spirited practices we've had in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So really excited.
Well, that's certainly great news. Coming off of a win over Luther College, and we'll talk about that first of all. A big homecoming win of 56-20. You put the throttle down and really had your way with Luther's defense. Offense really did what it wanted to.
You know, I think it really started. Got a good kickoff return to start the game out to the 45. Had a short field, able to score in that first drive. I think it was 11-play drive, and really very efficient. And then we kicked off, and P.J. Butler put some backspin that most guys would like to have on their golf shot.
That's what we said on the broadcast.
Exactly, putting it on the green. And we got another short field, 11 yards, and we're able to go ahead 14-0. We talked last week, Tim, that offense that they have is a difficult offense to be behind. But you could see the potential that offense has with the 3 drives that they had that consumed almost 23 minutes of the clock when they had the ball, and they were very, very efficient, and boy, they run it well. And I grew up in that offense in the early 70s as a college player, and they're running it very well. So they're going to give people some problems. Our defense did a great job of making them go the long ways, a lot of plays. We probably didn't get as many turnovers as I had hoped, Tim, but I think what we really did is make some hits and not let them score every time they had the possession. And we were able to do some things offensively, which I felt really good. We were efficient throwing the ball, and we had our best run game of the season, as you saw. And so that part really bodes well because we need to get a little bit more balanced as we move along.
Mm-hmm. That offense can certainly chew up a lot of clock, but really, as you look at the time of possession, there wasn't really that great a disparity in this game.
We were able to do some things ourselves. I think we scored too fast in a couple times, especially in that third quarter. Put our defense right back on the field. A 1-play drive. We had a very like a 5 or 6 play drive, Tim, but again, as I told you, I was scared to death about playing that team because you just don't know what's going to happen when you don't have a chance to prepare for an option other than a week, and you don't see it very often. But I really challenged our men, and our men really, I thought, come out and played with a great intensity and a great enthusiasm. And as I told you, that was, I think, probably our most complete game, and our special teams won, I think, for the 3rd week in a row. I thought our special teams have, and we've been devoting a lot of time in practice to it, Tim, and they really paid off. And P.J. Butler continues to be a tremendous weapon on kickoffs. And then again, as I said, our defense, we'll see that offense, one of the totals that we've had this year will be a great total against them because they're a very, very good run offense.
This is the UD Football Show with head coach Stan Zwiefel. Spartans won 56-20 for homecoming. And, Coach, as we just think about some of the other things, you mentioned that you didn't give it as many turnovers as you'd like, but you are leading the conference now in turnovers +7. And all your turnovers really seem like they've generated points this year, and that's what you want to see. I think most of them have.
Tim, you're absolutely correct on that. We've been able to take the turnovers we've received from our defense and get points. We've been phenomenal in the red zone this year, Tim. It's been a phenomenal year for us. I wish we'd been in there more often. That part disturbs me a little bit, but our kicking game allows us to have a chance to kick a field goal. And there are times in the past that we've gone for it on some 4th and 6 and 4th and 7, which is a very difficult to be efficient on that down and distance. But again, I think we really feel good about where we're at right now momentum-wise. And, we had a tough 3-game schedule, and we've played Central out of that shoots. In Central lost last week, but, oh, my God, it was a 14-10 score, and they played tremendous defense. Like I mentioned to you last Monday, I think they'll be one of the top defensive teams in the conference. So we really think that's what we've played has gotten us ready to this point in time. And now, of course, it's going to be a fun game, a huge atmosphere. I told the guys, we know what I remember most about Co. Tim is going down there in 2011 in a game that decided the 2011 conference championship game. But I decided it's going to be that kind of crowd. It's their 100th homecoming, and they're going to have a lot of things going on. I told our men I can't be more excited. I hope there's 7,000 guys cheering for Co. down there when we get on the field, because I really think it's going to be a great atmosphere for a small college game.
Set up the Co game in just a little bit, but a few other thoughts on the win on Saturday. Seemed like a quarterback, Brian Bradshaw, was a lot more at ease, a little more comfortable, and that allowed him to find his receivers.
Sure did, and I thought, if you just noticed, we didn't take any sacks in that game and had no turnovers, no picks. So I think about that. He was a lot more comfortable, and, of course, our run game allowed us to be a lot more comfortable in the pocket because we were able to run the ball and take away some of their pass blitzes that we thought they used. And we didn't get a lot of blitzes just because of our ability to run the ball. And we had, of course, Tyler Rutenbeck continues to just have a phenomenal year. He's very, very difficult to cover deep. He's done a lot of good things. Chris Bagley had his best game of the season. Sean Anderson continues to be just very, very consistent and steady. And we got Lee Jones some touches. And I told Kyle Aker after the game that's the best he's run since last year at Central a year ago. So we're hoping that he's reaching a peak too. He's a little bit more healthy than he was 2 weeks ago. And we're just hoping that all those things will regenerate together and our offensive line continues to be physical up front.
On the defensive side of the ball, you allowed Luther just 308 yards total offense. You talked about how big it is against any option team to have play assignment football. Were you pretty pleased with the way you played?
I thought what happened a couple times, they got a couple passes which surprised us. but I really think our linebackers played well. Blaine Snittner, I think, had 15 total tackles. Dustin Sorrentino and Trevor Stonner played well, but our defensive line was able to take away, as we talked about, Tim, last week. We thought the big key to beating these guys was to take away the dive. That Voss kid had, I think, was the leading rusher on their team. We held him to 30 or 63 yards. Their quarterback hurt us a couple times, but we didn't think their quarterback could beat us. So I think we played very well assignment-wise, but I think our plan that we put in place really worked.
Mm-hmm. Before we leave the Luther game, any other thoughts on that for the win? A big homecoming win, great crowd on Saturday.
Played 88 guys in that game, Tim. Yeah. Oh, my gosh, in heaven, that's a lot of football players.
That's
guys
big.
Got a lot of experience. And it's fun to be able to, when you practice and you don't get to play in some of those games, and every one of our games have been down to the wire, So that part to get some kids in, and it was a great crowd and a beautiful, beautiful day, and it was nice to really, I think, play well on homecoming.
This is the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zweifel. We're going to roll on. We're going to talk more with Coach Zweifel, and also we're going to get a chance to meet Gene Will, wide receivers coach this year for the Spartan football team. And we're going to come back and have more of our UD Football Show here on 101.1 The River. And this is the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zweifel on Tuesday nights, and we'll be here on Tuesday nights throughout the rest of the season. And the season is at game number 3. The Co-College Co-Hawks, who are ranked in the top 25, D3Football.com, and also the football coaches poll in NCAA Division III are the opponents coming up for the Spartans. UD having to travel to Co this Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff, and we'll be on the air at 12:40 on 101.1 The River, and also on the University of Dubuque's website. You can get a link right there on the athletics homepage. And, Coach, let's talk about Co-College. I guess one of the things, when you look at the team statistics, just pulled those off today for the show, defensively, very solid football team.
Yeah, they've given up 7 points a game during the season, only 3.5 in the conference. They have phenomenal defensive statistics. They lead almost every category in the conference and in the conference statistics alone. And then, of course, their offense, they've been able to score 28-plus points on 4 of their 5 games. So now this is going to be a real challenge for us. And, Tim, I guess I would say to you again, we're really excited about getting a chance to go down there and play for first place, because after this game, the winner will be in first place and might very well be in first place by themselves. But what it really does, it puts you in a situation that you can stumble somewhere along the line and still feel you got a great chance to win it. Cole will be outstanding. They start 10 seniors on their defense. They are the defending conference champions. If you think about this, Tim, in the last 3 years, we felt that we've played them for the conference championship every time we played them. We won down there 2 years ago, 49-42, in just a really fun game, especially the way it ended. And then up here we went double overtime, and really was the only time in the season that they were really challenged last year. So it's become a rival for us, which I told you is one of the things we wanted to accomplish. They've got Steve Staker, their head football coach. He might be the only guy in the conference older than me, so that's exciting. And when we get down there, it's going to be a tremendous competition, because there has become more and more over the years a very intense rival between us.
Mm-hmm. As you look at Co's offense, they did have to retool a little bit there, but it seems like they've found the pieces that have worked in the puzzle.
Their quarterback has played very well, and he's a system guy. What they do, they fit the, Brad Boyle a couple years ago was the MVP, and then they had the kid last year that had a great season. Their quarterbacks are accurate. They do a lot of misdirection. They do some zone read, but they do a lot of personnel and formations that kind of keep you off balance. They're very much a rhythm offense, but I think the strength of their team, Tim, which will be interesting for you guys to follow, is can we get some heat on them, because their offensive line has played outstanding. They have an All-American that's at their left guard, and they have 2 tackles who are huge, but they play very, very physical football. And then defensively, they play with a chip on their shoulder. I think they think they're the best defense in the conference, and I think they can't be scored upon. And I've challenged our men, hey, this is a great opportunity to see the progress we've made in the last 2 weeks, if we can continue with that progress, because it'll be a fun game and a fun atmosphere, Tim.
Their 2 conference wins. They really shellacked Loras last week, but boy, they were in a dogfight with Buena Vista that first conference game.
The defense won that game for them, Tim. It's 7-7 with about 4:16 left in the game, and BV's driving down the field, and they throw a pick that gets returned about 60 yards to about their 7 or 8 yard line. They go in, and then they throw another pick in the last minute and 11. So that 21-7 game is deceptive as heck, because it's 7-7, and BV really, really played well. That was out at BV, and a lot of folks will tell you it's tough to play at BV. I love playing out there, but a lot of people tell you it's really tough. But I think this Co game will have that kind of an atmosphere of a big game early, and as I said before, it sure doesn't determine who the conference champion is, but it's going to go a long ways to making whoever wins have an easier road.
On the defensive side of the ball, talk about what they'll try to do to you.
Yeah, they're going to play a 4-3 alignment, and their secondary is very, very aggressive. They have 2 starters returning in the secondary. One is Larry Atwater's son, Jordan Atwater, the defensive coordinator's son. They have Antoine Allen Jackson playing number 6 at a corner. They think he's maybe the best corner in the league. We really like our matchup of our receivers. I think the key again will be this, Tim. Can we run the ball enough? Can we run the ball for 125 to 150 yards to let Brian do some play action pass, but also to keep him off us a little bit in the blitz situation? And then can we be effective and efficiently doing our special teams? I think that's going to be one of the keys in the game. I think we have a little bit of an edge in special teams. Saturday will determine if that's true or not, but it's going to be a very evenly matched game.
As you've gotten into conference play, you've felt better about your team really progressing here. You came in here and said that you had a great night of practice. Do you really feel like the team's where you want them to be at this point?
You know, Tim, I'm going to tell you, no, I don't. I thought we should be a little bit farther progressed at this time. But, you know, we've made some really nice strides the last 2 weeks. Now, I tell you this, Tim, when the season's over and I go back and examine that, our opponents are going to have something to do with where we are right now. As you well know, Tim, we put ourselves in a position to play the best competition we can, and the conference schedule just worked out like it was. We opened with Central. So I think that maybe when I have a chance to reflect on the season and do some analysis of what we've done, maybe I'll say, God, maybe we were right where we wanted to be. But we really didn't want to have 2 losses at this time in Junction, Tim, but the stat that really counts for us is we're 2-0 in the conference, and we have a chance to go to 3-0.
As you look at what happened last week in the Iowa Conference week number 2, just your thoughts, sir.
Wow, that Simpson Central game, I got a chance to watch that on tape. Whoa, that was a really good game, and there was some real critical calls made by the officials that I don't know if they're right or wrong. It just really, as a coach, it tears me apart when an official decides the game. It really bothers me greatly, greatly, greatly. But that was a tremendously competitive game. Co really had their way with Loras, and Co is a good football team, and Loras is struggling a bit right now. I'm sure they'll get their ship turned around. And then Wartburg, and I'm really excited about Wartburg and Luther this week, because Wartburg's the leading rush defense in the conference, and Luther is the leading rush conference. But I'll look at that when we're riding back on the bus, obviously, from Co. That game for us is exciting. But I really think the conference is going to – we're not sure who's going to win the conference yet, but I think this game, as I mentioned, will give somebody a leg up in the conference race.
Well, this Saturday against Co College, a lot of keys in this football game, but for sure, if you can get your passing attack going, you've got the best passing team in the league. Co has the best passing defense in the league, so
they're impressive on defense. Their statistics, but here's what I told my men on Sunday, and I'll tell you exactly. I hope the Co guys are listening. They haven't played us yet. They're going to play us, and we'll see what their statistics are after they play us. Just like last year, they came in with the number 1 scoring defense in the conference, the number 1 overall defense, and I don't know what we did statistically, but I know we scored a ton of points on them. We're excited about that challenge. We really are.
What other keys do you look at as you focus on Co?
The special teams, as I mentioned, I really think P.J. Butler's been a great weapon for us. I think he could do something for us to make have them have a long field. Our punting game's been good. I think there are a lot of things, special teams working for us. And then, of course, we got to get those guys off the field. We got to get their offense off the field, not let them get in rhythm. We've really talked about doing some things that try to maybe make that quarterback not be so dang comfortable in the pocket. And we've got some coverages to take care of certain parts that they do, but they're going to have some success. They're a really good offensive and a really good offensive system, and they do a nice job down there mixing it up. So we want to play it as close as we can with them, Tim. And we always say if they score, we got to hold serve, and then we got to score. And so I think it'll be a game that might be decided by a special team miscue or a big play on special teams. And then we got to get the ball to our playmakers. Our playmakers have excelled all year long. We got to continue to do that. And I really like the health of our running back, Kyle Aker, who had his best game, as we mentioned. He is really feeling good physically, probably since the first time at lacrosse. And so we're excited about that part and what he adds to our offense.
Injury-wise, you sitting pretty good?
Tyler Dobrats is back now. He's missed the last 2 games. We held him out against Luther. We went with a plan to see how the game would, unfold, and it unfolded in the right time for us, so we were able to hold him out of the game. He's about 85%. He'll really add a lot to our pass game if he's ready to go, and we think he will be. I don't know if he'll be at 100, but he'll be ready to play on Saturday.
Well, Coach, we're going to turn you loose here, but you're going to bring over your assistant coach, Gene Will. The wide receivers are playing great again.
He's done a tremendous
and just
job.
talk about his job
He's
and
done a
your
tremendous
receivers.
job.
Mm-hmm.
He's I played with his father. His father was a great player. He was an All-American at UW River Falls with me. I take most of the credit for that. He had to cover me during practice. That was his toughest opponent. But Willie, as I call him, was a GA for me at UW Whitewater for 2 years, and both those years we went to the national championship games. And then he went down to Wabash and was there for 7 years, and we were able to bring him back here. He's done a tremendous job. Last year he coached the secondary, and this year we got him over to, I think, his natural position is wide receivers. And he just had a little baby girl here a couple months ago. I told him that was bad timing to do that in the middle of the season, but sometimes I guess nature calls. But he's done a great job, and he'll talk a little bit about the receivers. He's done a nice job developing our receivers.
Well, Coach Zwiefel, we'll turn you loose. We're excited about the ball game on Saturday. I know you're excited. Your team's excited.
It'll be a lot of fun.
They're ready to play tonight.
Absolutely.
We'll have that game again on 101.1 The River, 1240 with our broadcast time with the pregame, and then 1 o'clock with our kickoff. Coach Zwiefel, thanks for coming by.
We'll see you there, Tim. Thanks
All
so
right,
much.
Stan Zwiefel, head coach of the University of Dubuque Spartans on the UD Football Show with Stan Zwiefel. We'll come back, and we will meet the assistant coach that's here tonight. Gene Will come in next here on 101.1 The River. And this is the UD Football Show with the head football coach Stan Zwiefel on a Tuesday night. And we always have another guest or two that comes by the program. And tonight we're going to meet Gene Will, assistant coach on Coach Zwiefel's staff, third year here at the University of Dubuque. And he's moved to the wide receivers, as Coach Zwiefel mentioned, from the defensive back coaching. And Gene, thanks for coming on the program here tonight.
Yeah, Tim, I really appreciate you guys allowing me the opportunity to come on here and talk about my position group and more importantly about the Dubuque Spartans.
We'll talk about them here in just a moment. Coach Zwiefel gave us a small bit of your resume, but tell the folks about your coaching background before the University of Dubuque.
Yeah, definitely. I actually played college football at the University of Dayton in Ohio, and was there for 4 years, and was fortunate enough to have a connection with Coach Zwiefel through my dad, where he hired me as his graduate assistant in 05 and 06, and really had 2 great runs there with his football team while we were there, and was able to work under him and learn kind of his offense at that time. And after being there for 2 years, I went to Wabash College for 3.5 years and coached the wide receivers there under 1 year with Chris Creighton, and then for the next 3 years with Eric Rayburn, who is actually what came from Coe College. So there's a little bit of a connection there on that side. And then Coach Z hired me 3 years ago to come back here, and at the time it was as a defensive backs position. And I really liked that. It was a good challenge for me moving to the other side of the ball, using kind of my knowledge that I had from the offensive side, applying it to the defensive side. But was probably even happier this year when he made the move back to go to the wide receivers. Just my natural position. So for coaching 9 years, this is my 7th year as a wide receivers coach, and just really enjoyed it. Knew the offense from previous coaching when I was at Whitewater. So I've just kind of hit the ground running with the wide receivers, and been working really well together so far.
Mm-hmm. That experience you gained as a defensive back coach the last couple of years, moving back to the wide receiver side, what advantage was that for you?
It helped me in a few ways. Number one, finding the weaknesses, understanding each coverage and the details that goes into it, and kind of finding some nuances throughout the way. Number one is the ball going over your head, okay? So as a defensive backs coach, I hated that. And on the offensive side, I tell Z all the time, let's throw it over the top, because that's very hard to defend. And we've actually done a pretty good job of that this year. But it's just learning things, the ins and outs, like I said, of coverages, of blitzes, of offensive tendencies and defensive tendencies, that sort of thing.
Well, for the third straight year you've been here, there are some playmakers on the wide receiver side of the ball. And just talk about your group of receivers this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to start out with Sean Anderson. He's our senior, and he's a captain. And, he's just played great. I was actually joking with him on Sunday when I graded the film that I actually had to nitpick to find technique errors in his game because he's played so well and he's done it for 4 years. So when he's out there, he's been in the big stage. He knows what to do, how to do it, and has just played tremendous for us. He was a little banged up from the game before, so it was nice to limit some of his reps. And then, Tyler Rutenbeck's just really blown up on the stage this year. He does a nice job over the top, but he's just really worked on a lot of aspects of his game, blocking and under routes and doing things. And then Chris Bagley, for his first time since he's been here, has been healthy. Last year he started off as with a great couple games and got injured, got healthy again, and then got injured actually in the co-game last year. And so he was kind of up and down for the whole season last year. And this year for 5 games, he's been healthy and just playing really, really well. And then there's been a couple other guys, Najee Toomer, a freshman that stepped in that has a lot of ability. He's got a lot of tools that you see when he's out there, and we use those. He's still learning some things and figuring it out. And then Sean Graywall's been a nice adjustment that we can use. He brings some speed to our slot receiver that we've been able to use, and on the return game as well.
Mm-hmm. No, there was a nice write-up in today's Dubuque newspaper on Tyler Rutenbeck and the other receivers and quarterback Brian Bradshaw. He's caught. He's had 10 games, 10 straight games catching a touchdown pass. How difficult is that for a wide receiver? I mean, that's a great streak.
Yeah, that was actually the one stat that I found out today. I did not know that. And it does become very difficult because not only has he caught one in one of those 10 games, but there's games where he's had 3 and even 4 touchdowns in. So to have multiple in a game is very impressive. And he's just such a big threat in the red zone because of his size and his athletic ability. If you have a one-on-one matchup, we like that. And for 10 straight games, he's won that one-on-one matchup. And he's going to continue to do that. He's got things he's got to work on. He could be more consistent in some areas, but he's just playing great. His confidence is out of this world right now, which it should be because he's playing at a high level.
One of the challenges for the receivers coming into this year was a brand new quarterback coming in, Brian Bradshaw, and being on the same page and getting things going with him. How have they really fared this year?
Brian's done a great job holding our guys accountable. He had to learn the offense, but he also studied the offense and knew it from Coach Sweefel. And if our guys were off on a depth or if they were making a wrong read, he didn't have any problem letting those guys know that. So I think that kind of helped with the adjustment because they knew what he expected and how they had to get it done. And on the same side, our wide receivers have been in this offense and have been able to help him as well of what they're seeing and how they're reading it. So it took some time, but, they're still learning. They're still getting the timing going in practice. And when you have 4 or 5, possibly 6 wide receivers that you can play, it's hard to get all the timing all the time. But, it's just a matter of competing out there on practice. And Coach Z does a great job bringing the intensity up during a practice to make sure that it's a game-like situation for those guys.
Coach Sweefel mentioned you got a new addition to your family. You getting much sleep these days?
My wife has just been tremendous. She is unbelievable. During camp was very limited sleep, but my little girl's name is Madeline Marie. She's just been a great addition. She was born on August 22nd, and like I said, my wife is just she's been tremendous. She went back to school last week, so she's a 4th grade school teacher in DeWitt, and so Madeline's been going to daycare here at the UD at the University of Dubuque. So it's been nice sneaking over there every once in a while to get a quick peek in there on my little girl and be able to hold her for a little bit.
Gene, it's been great having you on the program. Anything you wanted to add about your receivers we didn't touch on?
No, like I said, there's been 7, 8 guys that we've consistently felt could go out there and play on Saturdays. And with the games as tight as they have been, it's been hard to get all those guys in. And this last Saturday was a nice chance to get guys in there for a quarter or a half a quarter and see them in a game-like situation. And they just do a great job. Like I said, our team is very competitive offensively and defensively, and they always are doing one-on-ones against each other or different drills. And that's where I watch the guys a lot, and I know they're not getting in on Saturdays, but they're still competing, and they're getting better every day in practice.
A doggone fly. He went from me to you, wanting some camera time on the UD football show tonight. So we're gonna cut to a break, and we're gonna take care of that fly. But thanks a lot for coming by, Coach, and good luck to you guys this Saturday.
Yep, appreciate that, Tim.
All right, Gene Will, wide receivers coach, assistant coach on head coach Stan Zwiefel's staff. We'll come back with more of the UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. We'll have some final thoughts right after this. That's going to wrap up our UD football show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel here on 101.1 The River and on dbq.edu. Going to be a great game this Saturday as the Spartans take on the Co-College Cohawks for first place in the Iowa Conference. Pregame at 12:40 and kickoff at 1 o'clock. And then tune in a week from tonight for the next UD football show with Stan Zwiefel at 6 o'clock next Tuesday night. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. I'm Tim Larry, 101.1 The River.